G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at one of the new EZAs that's recently come to DBZ Dokkan Battle Global as a global first exclusive, and that is Strength Great Ape Radditz. So Radditz is a 50% all types lead, and that is a little bit of a step down from Goku, so it's a bit interesting that they did that. Usually they make them all the same. Radditz also greatly raises his attack and defense on his super attacks. That's a nice little mechanic that allows his defense to raise a little bit higher than we would expect. Then he is attack and defense of 80% plus an additional attack and defense per key sphere obtained, plus an additional attack of 80% when performing a super attack. He also obviously has the ability to transform into a great ape. So very clearly Radditz, pretty good, a very solid unit. I wouldn't say he's a spectacular unit. In terms of build, he's definitely a crit orientated build, as much as he obviously gains a very large sum of attack, and he greatly raises his attack and defense for one turn. Generally speaking, you do need crits more in the current meta of hard gameplay, and there's no additional benefits to additionals and of course anything else. So beyond that, it's pretty decent. We have Saiyan Raw, Saiyan Lineage, Saiyan Warrior Race, Shattering the Limit, Transform, and Nightmare and Brutal Beatdown as his links. Very solid links, very good for linking with some Broly units and some Radditz units. But obviously he does benefit from linking with other giant form or giant ape units, and of course just with pretty much Saiyans in general. Beyond that, on his categories, we have giant form, great ape power or giant ape power, pure Saiyan, Goku's family, low class warriors, space traveling warriors, and terrifying conquerors, which are very solid categories. Obviously he shares those with a lot of Radditz units except for giant ape power. And then beyond that, he has the giant form, which has only a chance requirement, so no other necessary conditions to be activated, and that giant form has +2 key, which helps it quite greatly. So we'll try him out on the giant ape power team first, and we'll take a look at how he performs. So because Radditz stacks attack and defense per orb, and that's his main mechanic to generate his additional attack and defense, Radditz is definitely a unit that can fluctuate quite heavily in terms of his performance. If you manage to gain a consistent amount of orbs, generally speaking, you will see good performance from Radditz. Whereas if you gain a somewhat inconsistent amount of orbs, generally you won't see such a strong performance from Radditz. Things like orb changes do help. Having an orb changer obviously enables you to kind of control, or at least have some kind of control over the orbs that Radditz will have. It doesn't matter what kind of orbs, so generally speaking a rainbow orb changer is the best, as that will allow you to create avenues and pathways to generate a lot of orbs. But whatever really works for you, it doesn't really matter too much. Here we don't have that many links activated, but we do have Radditz in the center. He's getting support from the SS4 Vegito, and he has about 90k defense before getting orbs. So that's not too bad. Obviously 90k defense is pretty solid. Grab a couple orbs that should rise up to 100k, and he does greatly raise his attack and defense for one turn, so that defense will rise up to a solid number. This Radditz has 2 dupes, so you can see here about 130,000 or so, which is very good. We obviously got a nice sum of orbs there. Again, having an orb changer will benefit Radditz in terms of this. But that being said, we did get a very nice chunk of orbs there without one, and we get a very solid attack stat to go with it. Remember, after this attack, his defense will be pretty high. Not ridiculously high, not like 400k or anything, but pretty close, pretty up, probably sitting around 170, 180, 1000k. So pretty solid there. Obviously we did have some support in 20% attack and defense from the SS4 Vegito, but overall a good attack stat and a good defensive number from Radditz. Comparatively to Goku, who is a unit that starts out maybe a little bit lower, but continuously grows. Radditz is a little bit stranger in a sense that obviously with Radditz, under certain conditions, you can get Radditz to produce some pretty monstrous stats. Like I say, if he starts to get 10 or so orbs, he will really start to look super impressive. Here we have 4 links activated, so a very nice solid number. Again, he's going to have that level of defense for around about 90k or so, and realistically we want to focus on getting him orbs. Here I've taken 1 orb just for the sake of showing comparatively how he does with less orbs to the previous turn. So that's just so you guys can understand the difference in how he does with less orbs, and you'll see a big drop off in his attack stat, 1.4 million only. So orbs are going to be a large difference, as they usually are with nuking or orb based units. Units that gain their attack and defense based on orbs are always going to be units that somewhat struggle if you don't feed them that mechanic. That being said though, Radditz still has a pretty solid base defensively. 90k is not bad, and with that greatly raising, it's still a decent number. Again, this Radditz has 2 dupes, but it's really a solid decent number. So yeah, overall I don't think Radditz is bad. I don't think he's underwhelming either comparatively to what he was. I do just think that Goku, for example, is in stark contrast a lot better. And that is maybe just by design, but I do just think Goku is a lot better. That being said, Radditz still has his uses. 15% per orb is a lot, and is really good. So having 15% per orb is still solid as an option that you can possibly use as a, a nuker if you want. You could potentially use him as a nuker in events if you do not have other units. 15% per orb is pretty good, plus he gains an additional attack and defense below 80%. Obviously, being below 80% generally is quite easy in hard events, so Radditz's attack will shoot up quite a lot in difficult events, so that is just something that you can also be aware of. Radditz will gain quite a bit of offensive capabilities in more difficult events. But here we go, we've got Radditz again. First turn here, we're running him on a Goku's family team. 2 links activated, 70k defense. That's just because of the makeup of the leader skills, and we don't have any defensive support on the rotation as well. 104k defense with a respectable amount of orbs. I wouldn't say it was a massive amount of orbs, so not too bad. 104k, again, that will greatly stack and raise, so we're looking at a solid 130, 140k after he supers, and a decent attack stat there. So again, nothing spectacular, obviously not a lot of links active, and not an incredulous amount of orbs, so a solid performance from Radditz. He definitely feels like an okay unit. He feels like he was designed to be kind of a floating slash option on teams. Like, he was a option to be introduced to fill in gaps on teams, maybe help some people out who are struggling to fill out their giant form team or their giant Ape Power team. He's definitely not a figurehead character or a unit that we're definitely going to be using as a totem pole to build a team around. You possibly could if you really want to go the route of orb changes, but the difficulty with orb changes is A, finding ones that are suitable to the category of the team, and B, finding ones that can carry their own weights as well. Generally, orb changes rely on orbs, so by utilizing those orbs for another unit, you do detract from the performance of the orb changer themselves. Using something like Margin 2 or Super Saiyan 2 Margin Vegeta, you have a similar problem. If you use all of those orbs for Radditz, you're not going to be able to use those orbs for Vegeta. So yeah, defense, again, 69,000, have a couple more links active like Saiyan Raw, and 104,000 again. So that's those 6 orbs. Again, 6 is kind of a respectable amount if you have some rainbow orbs floating around. Anything more than that is probably a favorable sum of orbs, and then anything less than that's probably a bit unlucky. So I would say between 5 and 6 is probably the orbs you can aim for if you have some kind of rainbow orb generation. Again, attack stats decent. Remember, he is designed to gain a massive attack boost when your health falls below 80,000. So, or sorry, 80%, not 80,000. That would be a lot less than 80%. So when that does activate, that attack stat is going to skyrocket. So even though the attack stat does look slightly low, just remember he is designed in mind that that attack stat essentially gets like a 1.5 modifier minimum roughly when he actually fires it. So yeah, if you are below the health threshold, he is going to gain a massive amount of attack, and because of that, the attack stats may not look so great above 80%, but they are respectable. They definitely are usable attack stats, and remember, with a larger amount of orbs, an additional attack, some support, some better links, you will see him cross that 2 million threshold like we did previously. It really is just going to depend on how lucky you get with your orbs and things like that. But overall, I think Radditz is definitely a solid unit, a very, very good unit. Is he a spectacular unit? Probably not, but he's definitely good. He's well-rounded, and he's defensively solid with bringing some offense to the table. He's definitely probably better as a floating option in a giant Ape Power team rather than a figurehead option, or as a potential nuking option for certain category missions or different kinds of builds for events. In terms of defense here, we can see again we're sitting at roughly about that 100k mark, so we are hitting that very, very reliably, which is good. It's good to hit that mark. Remember, there's no support defensively or anything for him, so 100k really not too bad. Nowadays it's probably the stock standard for surviving in difficult metas, or at least not getting your team thrown into the trash. So definitely a solid enough number. We will be able to activate the 80% trigger here with this attack as well, and you can see that attack stat really jump up to 4.5 million. That B-Pan active skill, along with the additional 80% from his passive, essentially just skyrocketed his damage, and yeah, that's just what happens. So as you can see there, that's a prime example of why his attack stats may look a little bit low above 80%, because once you're below 80%, he's going to be throwing out some really big attack stats, which are super important, and it is a good factor to bring up. So I'm glad we got to see that big jump in his attack stat. It's good to know, and yeah, overall, solid unit, nothing spectacular. Very good, a solid option as a floater on any giant Ape Power, giant form team. Definitely an upgrade on the giant form team, and actually a decent running mate for the tech Radditz. So if you want to run a Radditz combo, if you like Radditz, if you feel he's underrepresented in DBZ and DBZ games, then here's your chance. You can run Radditz with Radditz, and they link really well, 5 links. And talking about links, we will take a look at them now. Obviously, there's various ways to build Radditz, but I would say Saiyan Warrior Race, Saiyan Lineage, and your Shattering the Limit are going to be your ways to go. Saiyan Raw and Transform are also solid links that you can find amongst giant form units, and then Nightmare and Brutal Beatdown are going to be common amongst Radditz units. Of course, fortunately, there are a couple options to look at. So first, we'll take a look at Saiyan Lineage, Saiyan Warrior Race, and Saiyan Raw. You can see here there's a couple units with that. Unfortunately, the only real viable ones are probably the Team Bardock, who are on low class warriors and pure Saiyans with Radditz, the SS4 Gohan, who is a DB Heroes unit that is on the giant Ape Power banner, well, team, sorry, and of course we have the free-to-play AGL Bardock, who is a solid option as a free-to-play unit for a lot of these giant Ape Power units. If we remove that, you can see the options expand a little bit. Units like Kumba come into the fore as well, but overall not really that many expansive units. So if we remove Saiyan Lineage, maybe drop out some of the other links, and then we can focus in on that, you can see it expands a little bit more, but again, nothing too crazy. This Broly is a solid unit because he has Nightmare and Brutal Beatdown, so that's always a plus. And then of course we also have the GT Vegeta, who's similarly to Bardock a solid enough unit, generally sharing 3 links with these giant ape units. So yeah, some options there. generally on giant form, giant Ape Power. You can see he has some decent running mates, so overall pretty good. Obviously that's focusing in on the Saiyan Raw link, which is somewhat important because it's a very big damage boost. But if you don't want to go down that route, you can obviously focus in on things like Brutal Beatdown and Nightmare. Common links amongst Radditz units, you will see that with the Int free-to-play Radditz, who provides a solid unit to pair with if you are looking for a free-to-play option, sharing 4 links as well. And then of course you can focus in on the Tech Radditz, which is the unit that I used. He will also be a super solid linking partner, sharing 4 links as well. So those are your go-to options in regards to the Radditz build. There are some other viable options as well. Units like the Masked Saiyan, who share 3 links with Radditz, and just kind of carry on that trend of the evil Goku family, I guess. So yeah. But I think realistically that is about it. So let me know down in the comments how you guys are finding Radditz, and let me know how you're finding the Great Ape EZAs in general. But that's going to be it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, take care and bye.